We've got some news to get to on today's show, but first, I was looking at the YouTube analytics and comparing our channel to the Steelers and Ravens channel for the month of May, and well, to be frankly honest with you, they are taking a big fat dump on us for subscribers for the month of May, but luckily the month's not over. So if you're looking for a free Browns YouTube channel and you hate the Ravens and you hate the Steelers, hit the sub button down below. The Browns are hiring a former NFL GM, which I know on the surface may sound like some boring white-collar news, but I think there's actually some deeper level meaning behind this hire. And I'm going to explain it all on today's show, but I first want to give you the background and the facts of the hire. So, former Indianapolis Colts GM Chris Polian, son of Pro Football Hall of Fame GM Bill Polian, has been hired by the Cleveland Browns to serve as a special advisor, according to The Athletic. So let's kind of discuss this hire because, like I just said, surface level, this may seem like, all right, see the title, see the news, pass on by, not a big deal. And you may not be entirely wrong, but I do think this hire actually has some deeper meaning to it. But I do want to share with you guys a little bit more background on Chris Polian. So for the last few years, he's been in D.C., serving as the Commander's Director of Pro Personnel. Of course, Washington shook things up this offseason. They hired a GM. They brought in a new head coach. So the front office overwent a little bit of a change, and Chris Polian was, I guess, kind of given the axe, and then he goes over to Cleveland to serve as a special advisor. Before that, he spent a long time in Jacksonville, serving as their Director of Pro Personnel. And then before that, with the Atlanta Falcons briefly, and of course, before that, with the Indianapolis Colts, where he got to know Andrew Berry firsthand. Remember, before Andrew Berry was with the Eagles, he also served as a scout with the Indianapolis Colts. So Andrew Berry and Chris Polian go way back, and this is just another example, and what's going to be a long list of examples of Andrew Berry hiring people that he used to work under when he was just a small scout with the Indianapolis Colts, and now he is hiring his former boss, who was the VP and GM for Indianapolis for a few years, taking over a little bit after his dad, Bill Polian, who had that same role for Indianapolis for a long, long time, and that was after being a GM for a handful of teams. He was the GM for the Bills, I know, and another spot that someone else is going to remind me about in the comments section. But what I want to get at here is, surface level, this sounds like a great hire, right? The Browns, they're bringing in a smart mind. It's a special advisor role for a guy who used to be an NFL GM. What's not to like about this? And I don't disagree. There is a lot to like about this hire. When you dig a bit deeper, I think what we're seeing here, and just stick with me for a moment, the Browns are maturing. Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, go back to their hires in 2020. They were some of the youngest, if not the youngest, at their respective jobs at that time, especially Andrew Berry. And fast forward now to 2024, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty young myself, and when I came out of college and got my first big boy job, I thought I knew everything there is to know, and I wanted to do everything myself, and I didn't want to delegate. I thought I was God's gift to sports YouTube. And I was wrong. I learned a lot, and I'm very grateful and thankful for that because I had some help along the way. And I think we're seeing a similar development in Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry's career path, where early on, Kevin Stefanski, like a lot of coaches do, they bring some of their buds and people that they're associated with, Joe Woods, Mike Prefer, right? People he's got connections in history with, so to speak. And fast forward, and those guys aren't doing great jobs, and he's able to separate business from personal, and he moves on from Joe Woods and Mike Prefer to go get better coordinators. And Andrew Berry, as he's moved on and matured in his job, he realized probably, I'm a very good GM, but I'm not going to do everything myself. So if there is someone out there that can help me do my job better, I'm not going to think my ego is so big that I can't bring on a Chris Polian to a special advisor role. Because if he helps the team and that helps me, then we're all winners here. And I think we see a lot of coaches have really big, and GMs too, really big egos. And there's plenty of examples of this, like Urban Meyer when he went to Jacksonville. and they want to do everything themselves, and they don't want to have any help, and they're not interested in putting together a strong supporting cast of coaches and front office members. And more often than not, they tend to fail, right? Sure, you get your Bill Belichick's of the world, and they work out for a long time, but they're very few far between. I think Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are showing us this offseason, and even back to last offseason, if there is someone that can help them do their job better, they're not going to turn them away simply because they feel like, well, I'm already the best at my job. I don't need to bring in any help. I mean, look at the offseason hires the Browns have made now. Chris Polian joining Mike Vrabel, a consultant, right, who's going to help out on the defensive side of the football. You think Jim Schwartz at his age feels like he needs help? Probably not. But again, I think Kevin Stefanski feels like if there's a guy out there that can make our team better, why would we not bring them in? Ken Dorsey. Let's break down the Ken Dorsey hire for just a moment here, right? Kevin Stefanski hires an offensive coordinator who's got a play calling background when Kevin Stefanski's pedigree is his play calling abilities. Don't you think that showed a lot about Kevin Stefanski and where he's at right now as a coach? If he's willing to move on from play calling, if he feels like there is someone else that is better at that role than he is because it's better for the team, that's just another example of Berry and Stefanski, I think, maturing and realizing if someone else can do this job better and I can delegate it to them and it's better for the team, then let's do it. I mean, look at the other hires too. Duce Staley, Tommy Rees. Of course, Andy Dickerson follows and replaces Bill Callahan, who follows his son Brian down to Tennessee. But there have been a lot of turnover and churning going on in the front office and the coaching staff, and I don't think it's just because the Browns had bad people in those spots before. I think it's because Stefanski and Berry are not trying to put everything on their shoulders, and they are looking to delegate to others who they think are really good at their jobs. And if that means swallowing a little bit of pride, if that means Stefanski going, hey, I love play calling, but if Dorsey calling plays is better for our team, then I'm going to put the team ahead of myself. And I think this Polian hire is just another example of that. And that's why I'm so upbeat and optimistic and excited about the direction this team is headed. I mean, last night I was able to get drinks and dinner with a longtime viewer of the channel, Jeremy Stallman. He was in my neck of the woods. We got together for a little bit, and towards the end of it, we were just talking about the direction this team is headed with Deshaun Watson and what 2024 is going to look like. And both of us shared a lot of excitement for this team. And I think a big reason why is it goes from top down. And I think the Browns have a really good head on their shoulders with Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski. And they show that they are not just young Ivy League grads who think they are so smart they don't need any help at all and they can do it all by themselves. Andrew Berry here bringing in a former GM to help out in a special advisor role. There's probably a lot of GMs that would look at that and go, no, I don't need any help. Don't need it. Not interested. I can do it all by myself. Berry's like, this guy can help us? Why would we not hire him? And that's why, one of many reasons, I'm super pumped for not just 2024 Cleveland Browns football, but hopefully the next decade plus of Cleveland Browns football. So I want to know, should the Browns extend Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski? This is a topic that you may or may not have noticed. I haven't divulged in too much this offseason. And to me, the reason why is it's such a no-brainer. And I also feel like the timeline of it happening is not very important because people look at extensions and they look at it through the lens of extending a player. Coaches and GMs, their calendar is not the same as a player. Like Andrew Berry's regular season is the offseason, right? That's when he's at his busiest. Hiring and firing and drafting and signing. So once his regular season, this offseason gets done, which is right around training camp, I could see the Browns then going, okay, now that we've seen everything you've done through the offseason, which is what you make your money in, let's make a decision on whether or not to extend you. And I fully expect the Browns to reach that conclusion and the answer be yes. We want to have more of Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski working in tandem for the next 5, 6+ years, hopefully. Now, before we get on out of here, if you are looking for a Browns USA-themed t-shirt. Memorial Day weekend is just a few days away. Then we got my favorite holiday, Flag Day. Then we got 4th of July. So if you want to get yourself a red, white, and blue Cleveland Browns t-shirt, go to chatsports.com/CLEUSA. I put that information for you guys in the comments and description of today's video. Now, I know it's been a bit of a lighter episode today, but I felt like this was a subject worth kind of exploring because I do think this sets up a really good pattern for what to expect out of Barry and Stefanski in the future. Colin, did you enjoy today's episode? Because I feel like it didn't have a major juicy player movement, but I do think it had some like very subtle hints of take notice of what's going on in the front office in Berea, Ohio.
Yeah, no, I think ultimately championship teams are built from the top down.
Yeah.
And, this is a move at the top. So the Browns taking, like you mentioned, a very mature approach to saying, hey, listen, we're trying to just get better by any means possible. And we think this move does it. I think it's a great underrated low-key move that it may not make all the headlines today. I mean, obviously we're talking about it, but I think it's a positive, really positive move for the Cleveland Browns.
Which card do you want to go with, bud?
I think I'm going to go King of Spades today.
King of Spades. Give me the 3 of Clubs. 2 of Spades. 2 of Spades. All right, that will do it for us on this edition of the Cleveland Browns Report. If you enjoyed our content, like, subscribe, comment, share. You know the dealio. It really does go a long way. So I really, really appreciate it. If you enjoyed our video, hit the thumbs up button down below.